This is Energized, a podcast about simple ways you can improve your energy. I'm Dina, a naturopath, personal trainer and wellness coach with 14 years experience working with a wide range of clients to help improve their health, fitness and overall energy. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Energized. I am recording this from Bondi as restrictions are changing and we have had a COVID outbreak in the area. And originally I had another podcast episode scheduled to go out today, but I decided that this was probably more important to talk about. And today I wanted to talk about how to stay sane during a lockdown or a COVID outbreak. So before I get started, just my general health disclaimer. While I am a qualified naturopath and personal trainer, I may not be your specific naturopath or personal trainer, and so anything that I talk about in this podcast is general in nature, and if you require individualized advice, then please book an appointment with me or with another qualified naturopath. Now, I thought I would talk about my top 5 ways to keep you sane, to stop, that COVID anxiety, if I can call it that, which I know happens, especially when there is an outbreak like there is at the moment in Bondi. And especially, they just said that anybody who has been in Westfield Bondi Junction, which if you're not from here is a very big centre that most people visit over almost a week's period, then they'd like you to go and get tested. Thankfully, I wasn't anywhere near Westfield, but there are a lot of people going for tests at the moment and being asked to isolate. And there's that thought that we might be going into lockdown. At the moment, our restrictions have just gone up. So this is the very first time that I've actually had to wear a mask while in clinic, because I have a home-based clinic. Before that, it wasn't mandatory, but they've asked that all workplaces have masks as mandatory from now on. So today's episode, I thought I would talk about the 5 ways that I encourage people, and I personally try to do, to help stop that craziness and the mental talk, I guess, the constant mental chatter that goes on when things around you are out of your control, like in this situation with the latest COVID outbreak. So the first tip is only to tune into the news once or twice a day. It's very easy to pick up your phone and jump on the news or, wherever you like to tune in, whether that's social media, to the latest COVID restrictions or COVID numbers multiple times a day. But for your own sanity and to help reduce that anxiety, I highly recommend that you only tune in once or twice a day. I promise you won't miss anything. Someone will send you a message if there are certain restrictions that come into effect, but usually if you're listening first thing in the morning and later in the day, you will catch all the news that there is around COVID and the restrictions. So that's my first tip, is to try to reduce your news consumption. The second tip that I have is to distract yourself. So again, it's so easy to get all consumed by the news, and the job of news, whether it's the paper or online or TV, is to act in a sensationalized way to, try and keep you watching. So it's easy to get consumed by it, but I'm encouraging you to distract yourself with something else, because the news will always be there. And obviously at a time like this, you want to be monitoring your own symptoms, cold and flu and other symptoms, and go and get tested. But it's not good for your mental health to be staying so locked onto the news and, trying to stay up to date constantly, because you're just going to end up exhausted. So I highly encourage you to distract yourself with something else. Read a book. If you're working, stay focused with what you're doing. Try to do something that doesn't involve getting caught up in the news and the media. My third tip is to focus on the good things, not on the negative or the what ifs, because you could spend a whole day really thinking, what if this, what if that? And, I hear a lot at the moment, especially people saying, oh, it's school holidays coming up. What if we have to go into lockdown? Well, we don't know. It's not in our control right now. We just have to go with the flow. But if we focus on the negative and just how horrible it is that there's another COVID outbreak before school holidays and we're stuck being inside and we have all these restrictions, then you're going to feel all of those restrictions. But if you can focus on good things, like I just thought, if we did have to go into lockdown, like we've done this before, and there's, we know how to entertain ourselves, how to stay at home as much as possible. That's not to say that it's going to be easy, but I would rather focus on the good that's happening in the world, because there is a lot of good in the world, even though the news won't show you that necessarily, rather than focusing on depressing things or negative media. Number 4 is, I guess, a way to get you to focus on the good, and that's to practice some form of meditation. So if you're like me and the word meditation freaks you out a little bit, that's because it's, got a bit of bad rap in that you think in order to meditate, you need to take out all this time from your day. You need to completely clear your head of thoughts and you need to do absolutely nothing. And that's not true at all. There are many different ways to meditate. There's many different forms of meditation or things that are similar to meditation. And one is doing some deep breathing. So that's easy enough to do. Just to stop what you're doing, catch your breath, take some deep breaths. Another way or another form of meditation, or just taking a step back, is just to have complete stillness. So just to sit and, preferably doing this in nature, because you'll get some extra benefits that way. But just sitting and looking at trees, sitting and looking at the ocean, and just trying not to focus on anything but the act of sitting still and relaxing. You could also do some tapping. If you don't know what that is, just Google or have a look on YouTube for some tapping videos. That can be a good way to shift you into a more positive state of being. Whatever it is, I highly recommend, if you can, to do it outside in nature. So even if that means going to sit on your balcony to look at a tree outside, or, if you're stuck inside working, then maybe just bringing up a picture on your phone or on the computer of something in nature that you like, whether that's a rainforest or the beach, the ocean, something pleasant to look at while you focus on doing some deep breathing. And while that's going to just help relax you and distract you as well, it's also going to help you focus on the good things. So it kind of ties into my first 3 tips as well. My final tip on how to stay sane when the world around seems a little bit insane is to move your body. So that could just be going for a walk. Movement helps to shift that energy. So if you're feeling low, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling anxious over what's going on, getting outside and going for a walk, or if that's not possible, then you could dance it off. So put some music on, some of your favorite music, sit inside and just dance. Or you could just do some stretches. So just stepping away from your computer, your phone, the TV, whatever it is that you feel like you're being consumed by, and just stretching, just trying to move your body in a way that feels good for you, because that is going to help shift you out of that not so nice feeling. So they're my top 5 tips for trying to stay sane during what could be a lockdown or just is a COVID outbreak with lots of extra restrictions that take us away from our normal activity. And now for my herb of the week. So this week's herb is actually called oats. Oats has the botanical name Avena sativa. Its main actions are that it works as a nervine tonic, which means that it helps to support your nervous system. So this week I thought with everything that's going on, it would be great to spotlight a herb that helps with fatigue, both physical and mental fatigue. So it's really good for nervous fatigue and mild depression, as well as anxiety. And it can also be beneficial for insomnia, especially if it's trying to fall asleep at night. It's great for debility, and it is also just really beautiful as a food, as you probably know. So while I prescribe it as a liquid extract in my clinic, oats are most well known as a food. And the most nutritive and supportive way that you could include oats into your day are by adding it to your breakfast, right? So making porridge or making up a muesli with oats in it. Now, just a word of warning here. If you are celiac or gluten intolerant, then oats are not for you. But some people who do have a gluten sensitivity can tolerate oats that haven't been contaminated by wheat fields. Often oats and wheat are grown right next to each other. So even though oats don't contain gluten, there's a cross-contamination that occurs. So generally, you've been told to stay off oats, but there are some oats that you can get that are wheat-free, and they might be okay. They might not, but they could be a good option for you. So oats are just really good at calming and supporting the nervous system. And as usual, I'll be posting over on Instagram at Dina Sabbats all about the herb of the week. So if you want to learn more about oats, or if you want to continue the conversation, or if there's anything that's come up for you in this episode that you want to chat about, then feel free to pop over to my Instagram at Dina Sabbats and continue the story over there. I hope that I have inspired you to perhaps try having oats for breakfast, especially over the next little period where there is that COVID outbreak, and hopefully you stay sane throughout it. Have a beautiful rest of your day.